Well, the cover of the book shows the ship going out to sea, and there's a quote in the back from a consulting firm that did an analysis of Gomery and some of the other inquiries, and I'll just summarize it. It says, launching a public inquiry is like sending a ship out to sea. You don't know which direction it will take, you don't know how far it will go, and you don't know when it will come back to shore, especially if the captain is in no hurry to get home. As I did my research, I came to the conclusion and used this phrase that a commission of inquiry is a residual institution of government. It's invoked regularly, but for many different purposes, when all other institutions of government prove to be inadequate. There are things that a commission of inquiry can do that no other institution can. The political process, parliamentary committees, they have certain purposes and things they can achieve, but they're partisan, and the public expects them to be partisan. And so they don't have public confidence. A criminal investigation serves a very important purpose, but it's kept secret. People don't know what's going on during the investigation. They only find out when a charge is laid. And the investigation, or a judge who's dealing with a trial following an investigation, doesn't say, what happened here? What went wrong? How can we fix this in future? They simply deal with the case that's put before them. So the Commission of Inquiry does have a very unique and important role in our society.
And when would it be inappropriate?
It would be inappropriate where it is a blatant attempt to duck an issue, to postpone things, put them off for no real purpose other than to buy time for an extreme political purpose like that. However, the press has become much more sophisticated, and it's more and more difficult now to get away with that than it was before.
I think it's fair to say that the complexity of climate change has led recently to a focus on how difficult it would be to address this issue, and will continue to be internationally. And there have been ebbs and flows over the years. I joined my law firm Torys in 1992. That was the year of the Rio Earth Summit. Maurice Strong, a Canadian, chaired the Rio Earth Summit. That led to the UN Framework on Convention on Climate Change. And frankly, that was a build-up that had come 20 years before. So we're now 20 years out from that. You might rightfully ask, how far has that process gotten us? And the reality is, when you dig into a book like The Law of Climate Change in Canada, what you see is a very heavy volume of legislation and activity and policy development. So if you take a snapshot over the last 18 months, you might have some level of depression about where things are heading. But if you go back 18 months before that, it was at an all-time high. And throughout my career since '92, I've seen it move in ebbs and flows all the way through. And at each instance, we push the envelope a little bit further. And we know it's an issue that's not going away. We know it's an issue that's now embedded in provincial legislation. It's been in the federal consciousness for 20 years. And it's the complexity of it that requires us to move perhaps at less lightning speed than we might in other circumstances. We've also come through the last number of years in a minority government, and it's very difficult for a minority government to actually take strong policy positions without big political risk. And I'm confident that the Conservatives are going to start moving in a stronger direction. It may be regionally, it may be different than some of the people in the international community would like, but I think we are going to make progress, and I remain optimistic. I'm taking a long view, not a short view.
And politics aside, what do you think needs to be done next?
What needs to be done next is a very difficult question. In the short term, I think focusing, as many governments are, on regional and bilateral arrangements as opposed to trying to advance the international architecture makes a great deal of sense, because we've seen some of the weaknesses in the international architecture, and I think it can be difficult to throw all your eggs in that basket and continue with the frustration that's happened there. I think that should move forward, but the focus should be on regional and bilateral relationships, and we're seeing a lot of that.